This is the first night of camp with all the kids. You can hear them in the hallway. They're running. You can feel the love and the connection and the joy of just meeting people who are like them. After a full day at a conference, I hopped into my car and drove 2 hours to New Hampshire. I finally got my act together this year and applied to be a volunteer for Camp Meridian. Camp Meridian is a camp for children and teens that have congenital heart conditions. The camp is tucked in a valley surrounded by mountains, and since Camp Meridian is held in the fall, the distant mountains are always sprinkled with gold, red, and orange. When I arrived, I went upstairs and chose my bunk, laid out my sleeping bag, and stuffed my suitcase under the bed. Downstairs, the group was creating signs for the camp and catching each other up on the year they had. Our heart conditions were never the focus of conversations, except for one evening when Meg, a cardiac nurse, asked specifics about our conditions. A few people searched on their phones for images while Meg drew outlines of our hearts on the wall to better understand our explanations. It had been at least 5 years since I was a camper, so Jared volunteered to show me around. We went to all the important buildings and passed a few areas I recalled, like the bathroom that was located several feet away from the bunkhouse I had slept in. He walked me through the front portion of the eating lodge, where youth campers gather to cheer for the box of mystery.
Box of mystery! Box of mystery!
The rest of the eating lodge holds a special place in my heart, as it was the only cafeteria that didn't strike instant anxiety in choosing where to sit. No matter who I sat next to, I felt listened to and appreciated, never excluded or alienated. And lunch and dinner were the best meals of camp, because of song challenges.
Jared's table, hurry up! And do as we do song. So stand up! It's a 60s party from a 60s movie. Squishy, ouchie, 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 flexy, 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 swooty, 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 da 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 da. It's a 60s party from a 60s movie. It's a 60s party from a 60s movie.
I still don't recall what ORT stands for, but it's any non-compostable food. At every meal, each table has a compost bucket and a metal ORT pail. After eating and after song challenges, we yell, "Exchange!" Exchange! And then scrape remaining food into their respective containers. Any table with an empty ORT pail is allowed to bang on the table and sing "We Are ORT Free" to the tune of "We Will Rock You" by Freddie Mercury. ORT is measured, and then the number of pounds is recorded on the ORT board. On the tour of the campgrounds, we stumbled upon other volunteers. I was only a few hours into volunteering at camp, and the kids hadn't even arrived, but I could feel the community the volunteers created. Their sense of pride was tangible. Several volunteers voiced that for many, Camp Meridian is a home they come back to once a year for 3 days. They knew this weekend would bring comfort, reassurance, and camaraderie to a group of kids who may otherwise feel left out back at school because of their heart conditions. We passed a tree with a sign that read "Wishing Tree," so naturally I had to stop and make a wish.
One, two, three.
While we were waiting for the kids to arrive, I found a ladybug. I also found an abundance of other cool critters. Farkle is a camp tradition played by the staff and volunteers late at night after the campers are tucked in. We have to close the door to the stairwell so as to not wake anyone up.
Yes. Absolutely. You can always Farkle. You're now in the game unless you Farkle right here. You Farkle. Don't forget, keep the one till the rest.
What's over here?
Keep the one till the rest. Keep the 5 going.
Oh!
When the kids arrive, they play random games downstairs, often involving a blown-up beach ball, and running in their socks. Each volunteer is assigned to a different group of campers. I volunteered with the youth groups. Instantly, I noticed the kids were different than other 8 to 12-year-olds. They were patient, empathetic, and inclusive. Not to say kids without heart conditions do not also share these qualities, but this group has higher levels of these personality traits. These qualities shine on the last night of camp at Final Fire. All campers and staff walk through the forest at night to a gazebo of sorts that has a hole in the center of the domed ceiling. The stars shine down on clear nights, and our breath fogs the cool mountain air. Groups walk clockwise to their seats and stand up when it's their group's turn to share a song or something they learned over the weekend. This spiritual-like event made me tear up when I was a camper. As a volunteer, I bawled my eyes out while the youth groups sang songs about positivity. I cried listening to the teens share how they felt vulnerable and yet supported during the weekend. I attempted and failed at wiping my tears away as the navigators shared stories of their camping trip and how they gained confidence in voicing their needs. Final Fire is a humbling experience that many campers use as a meditative practice to think back on the year they've had. It's a beautiful camp tradition. It brings our community closer together on the eve of the last day of camp. On Monday afternoon, parents pick up their children. It's not as sad as some may think, since most campers scramble to connect on each other's various social media platforms. Before they leave, campers make a point to say that they are excited for next year, which is their way of saying, "Can't I stay a little longer?" I have to say thank you very much to the other volunteers for putting up with my constant filming and asking if you wanted to be interviewed. Thank you to the campers who made my first year of volunteering so amazing. I am so thankful to have been part of Camp Meridian 2019, and I look forward to volunteering in the years to come.